But Fred's giving us a hand today. Isn't that right, Fred? I'm just trying out this new remote thing. I found this thing in the box of tricks, and it turns the camera on and off remotely. I'm not too sure why you do that. Maybe if you've got it mounted somewhere where you can't reach it, obviously. And alright, where's he off to? Come on, Fred. He's checking us out. I thought I'd do a bit of a look at these two Homelites. The last time we were mucking around with these things, this was the one here, and I explained that the two different types of starters. I thought I'd just show you this. They look virtually identical side by side. The machines are, from what I can tell, they're the same year. Oh, maybe not. I'm not 100% sure about that, but the rest of them is pretty much the same, apart from this being the difference. That bit there is quite a little bit wider than that bit. And when you get into it, this has got this one-way bearing arrangement, which was a bit new to me. This appears to be working quite good now. So when you pull this, anyway, when you pull the starter cord, it spins that, and this bearing, that bearing there is quite a neat fit on this shaft. But it only spins at one, so when the machine is running, this bearing is continuously engaged, but it's a one-way bearing, so that's quite unique. So I have put a little bit of oil, a little transmission fluid in there actually, which I presume you might want to do because it is a bearing at the end of the day. This system is a bit different. This is the Fairbanks Morse type arrangement. So when you pull out the starter cable, you can see these two here. They, if the camera can make that out, I'll put it in, get a bit of decent light. That might be a bit better. These expand outwards, and they grab onto this cup. And these can be quite unreliable, this setup, because this cup wears, and I mean, that's got quite a bit of wear in that. There is a way you can score it, and on the inside I've seen guys even set them up in a lathe and just run the cutting tool through it to score it a few times. Yeah, I haven't got that carried away. But when you pull the starter cable, there's a couple of friction washers and a spring underneath here, and if you can see that pushes out like that, which grabs hold of the cup. The worst thing you can do with these is put oil on them. I've tried that and it didn't work, obviously, because this underneath here is a friction bearing setup. So same but different, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I've discovered something else too, which I'll show you in a sec. Okay, so I've discovered something else with that's going on here. With that saw there, that's the one I pulled the barrel off it, pulled the carburetor off it, put a carb kit in it, and all that sort of stuff. Mucked around with a reed valve. It would fire, run for a few seconds and then stop. You couldn't give it any throttle, and I thought it was. I made an assumption that the float level was set wrong in the carburetor, the bottom of the diaphragm. There's a slight adjustment, and also that there was something up with this reed valve arrangement. But then, you know, the cylinder's marked, it's quite low compression, it's a whole lot of funny factors. Also, when I was messing around with it, I thought I would pull the clutch side of it off, so I stuck a piece of rope in the cylinder side. I'll grab a torch. That's better. You know, so the old trick is you put a piece of nylon rope inside the spark plug and then fill the cylinder up, and then, you know, so that it stops the cylinder from working, from going up and down, and then you're able to undo this nut here, take your clutch off and service all that. I found I couldn't stuff enough rope in there for the length I've got anyway, and I was thinking that something's odd here, really odd. So anyway, I thought, well, it's probably just me. I dragged this thing out and thought, well, this has got spark, I'll see if I can get this thing to run. Well, whilst I was in amongst doing that, I thought maybe I'll change the spark plug over, even though the spark plug was working in both of them. I thought I'll give that a go. So this is the old spark plug, which has spark, and you can see by the length of that, you know, that's just a J8J. That was what was in the unit. And when I pulled out the plug out of that one, which all appears to be exactly the same piston and everything, I pulled this thing out, and look at the length difference. Huge. So I thought, well, that can't be right. But it wasn't bound up, it wasn't, the piston wasn't hitting that plug. And when I looked into the piston, I found that ring. That ring had dropped out, which I thought, well, I wonder where that's come from. So it was like that. So somebody had, this has got me buggered, but somebody had gone like that to approximate the same length, virtually the same length, which, you know, that's a new one to me. But I haven't had this running. That one would run in fire. So I thought, well, why don't I just take that little ring off, put that in there like that, wind it in, and then slowly pull the piston over, and sure enough, it doesn't hit the piston. And anyway, it fires up. It ran. I'll run it. I'll show you it going. So, you know, I should actually download a IPL on these things and find out, you know, was this the original plug, or was this the correct plug that it needed? But if that was the case, why did somebody put that in there that would approximate that length? All a bit of a mystery, but it doesn't run with that. I haven't tried that and that, because, I mean, look at it. Yeah, does it even seal? It probably does. I mean, the other one did seem to have compression, but so it must have went like that. But when I took this off, I never noticed this, and it just sort of fell off and was sitting there somewhere. And I thought, well, I had no idea where that had come from. But that's the best I can make out. I didn't even see that in there, so I don't know. I mean, there was nothing else that wasn't lying there before. So anyway, what I'll do is I'll screw it back together and get it going, and I'll show you it running. But yeah, it's I suppose if it goes, doesn't it? Rightio. I'll try this little. Let's try this little remote thing out. Oh, okay, that doesn't work. Try this.
Oh, I pushed the wrong button, that's why.
No, I was wrong about that. When I screwed the plug in all the way in, it was just hand tight before, and I got about another half dozen turns out of it. It surely does hit. Have you heard that? I can't get it undone there. So that doesn't work. I'll have to try plan B. So maybe that little spacer does need to be there. Well, obviously, I think. Okay, we'll give that a go. I'll just put that spacer back in. It looks dreadful, to be honest. I might see if I can get you a bit of a close-up of that, see if it'll start. I'm not, yeah, who knows. Let's turn it on. Anyway, it goes. That's as low as I can get the idle. So that's not even touching the plate there. It doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest. The whole thing, yeah, I'm not sure about that. We'll try another plug-in and see if that makes any difference. But the difference, I don't know. I don't know why this is running. Maybe it's just a fluke. So that's with this Heath Robinson arrangement on here. And as you can see, it's slightly longer. Maybe that's it. Maybe this just doesn't have the reach to provide a reliable enough spark. Because there is quite a, if you can see that, there is a good bit of difference between the two. So maybe it's just that. Maybe this is not the right plug the whole way. I guess what I should do is look up the specs and find out what it needs, but where's the fun in that? Let's see if I can get this in. Okay. Oh, anyway, I'll get the plug in. It's camera shy. It doesn't want to do it. Okay, swap the plug over. Let's see if it makes any difference. That's pretty much what it was doing last time. It would fire like that, and if I threw a bit of fuel down its throat, it would fire and run a bit and die, and as soon as I gave it any throttle, no good. So I'll try this. don't want to do that up too tight. Okay. Ignition on. Well, there you go. That's a new one. That's a new one. So you sort of can't assume anything with these old saws. I'll button it all up. It's obviously way out of tune. I was almost about to say I'll look up the specs and see what it's meant to run at, but no, we won't go there, will we? I'll reset the car back to 1 1/4 screws out. I've sort of lost that where I was at, and we'll get another wheel. So yeah, we'll go from there. She's on. She's all back together. Filled up the oiler, and it actually works. So I'll give it a bit of a run. I'm not expecting a great deal out of this thing. The chain tension is sort of, you know, you get it too much tighter than that and it starts to bind up. So, you know, I mean, we can probably cut a little bit with it, but I'll see if I can get it to start, run reliably, idle, which I'll probably have to tune the idle on the low jet, you know, riching it up to slow it down. Well, anyway, we'll see. Start. there you go. It does work. 5/8 nuts on the way. So no safety features, of course. Yeah, see, look at that bloody thing. Something wrong with the adjuster on it. Anyway, oh, it cuts, I'm sure. The high jet is running, is screwed in quite a lot. When I pulled this thing apart, the high jet was screwed right in. I think I know what the problem is there. It's got a lean condition to it. So I'd say one of the crank seals is out, if not both of them. Maybe. I've richened it up a wee bit. It doesn't seem to have a lot of RPM. They probably didn't anyway. I don't know if that's is that even in frame. But oh well, anyway, she's one to put on the shelf, and I'll bring it out and do a bit of cutting with it. I've got a couple of other saws from the 1960s in this sort of class range, so we can probably get those going and do a bit of a comparison, kind of. But yeah, no, she's got a bit of gravity in her, that's for sure. They're not light machines, but anyway, it works, so I'm chuffed. Give it another whirl. There you go. Oh well. I'll just about choke myself now with all the smoke, but I'll bang this up on the internet for anyone who's interested. So that was it. It was just the reach of the spark plug. Was a bit different. It doesn't look right, but it does run right, so we'll give it a whirl. Okay, anyway, thanks for the 2 people that view these things. 10-4 Mary over and out.